Welcome to the Gaggle, where we bring you inside the newsroom to talk politics beyond what's in print. This week, the CD8 race is next week. There are new regulations for sober living homes, but first, Governor Doug Ducey has said he wants to give 20% raises to teachers who have been berating him and protesting for adequate pay. He came out with a plan last week. There were few details. Ricardo, how does the governor intend on making good on this promise?
The organizers with, Arizona Educators United, the grassroots group leading the Red for Ed movement, they were very distrustful of the governor's announcement. Just a couple days earlier, he kind of referred to this movement and the people leading them as a political circus led by political operatives. So they're moving forward with their plans for a possible walkout this week. Educators are going to be voting whether or not to pull the trigger on a walkout, and voting ends Thursday. We'll see what the results of that are going to be by the end of the week.
Regardless of, the details of his plan, he has effectively seemed to have tried to really neutralize the energy behind this walkout movement. Am I reading that wrong?
I think that's accurate. You have the education advocacy groups who've been kind of beating the drum for more education funding for years, kind of offering their support. On the teachers' end, clearly, there's a little bit of division, so to speak. There's some teachers who are now expressing, that we shouldn't do a walkout. Others who are doubling down. So I think it's very accurate to say that he has derailed the plans that these folks had in place prior to.
And I suspect if he doesn't make good on his promise, there will be quite the backlash. Ron, you have been watching the fundraising numbers and the ballot returns coming in the CD8 race, where Democrat Harold Tipperary faces Republican Debbie Lesko. What do those tell you about what might happen in this race?
Number one, there are a lot of Democrats who better get to the polls if they want to win this race. So far, the ballots that have been returned, the Republican ballots, there's about a 20 percentage point advantage over the Democrats who have voted in this race. We don't know how those folks have voted yet, but we know that registered Democrats are being really outnumbered by registered Republicans. So it's suggesting that the race is probably leaning to Debbie Lesko. We'll know by next week what the actual results are. The money is kind of a different story. Dr. Tipperary has been able to outraise Debbie Lesko, not by huge amounts, but she is winning on that front. She's also collecting more money from within that district, which suggests that she has some energy perhaps within the district itself, that for whatever insight political money shows us that there is some interest in her campaign.
Come Election Day, how close does that margin have to be, in your view, to maybe portend this blue wave that's going to be potentially hitting us in the 2018 cycle, regular cycle?
Yeah, I think for Democrats, the idea, whether they admit it openly or not, is that they need to be better. They need to be more competitive. And in a district where you haven't even competed for 2 cycles in a row, just having this race be competitive at all is an improvement for Democrats. I think in their heart of hearts, if they can get this to under a 15-point loss, they'd probably take that.
All right. Ken, you have written about sober living legislation. This would affect these homes that people who are trying to kick addiction and lead productive lives live at for a time before moving on. What does the legislation do, and how does it compare to what other states are doing with these homes?
This is really an outgrowth of the opioid epidemic. We have a lot of people dealing with addiction in the community. These 2 bills try to tackle an unregulated industry. One would certify and license sober homes. A lot of this industry operates on insurance money, and the allegation is that some of these homes sustain themselves by paying people in the community to get bodies in their doors, and there's a kickback provision associated with that. It's a big problem in Florida. They've taken a hard line on it in Florida. It has resulted in a number of indictments. Even Orange County, California, there have been indictments on this industry there. We'll see how the Arizona legislation stacks up to that. Arizona Department of Health Services has to draw up the rules and regulations until we really know what the effect is, but it's some attempt at oversight.
For our new segment, Spill the Tea, Ricardo, what's happening on the education beat?
So Joe Thomas, president of the AEA, Arizona Education Association, confirmed to us that they've been looking for some time now whether to introduce, a ballot this election to address the funding shortfall in education. We don't know what that looks like. Could be in the form of raising income taxes. They're not sure yet.
Okay, Ron, spill the beans.
Well, so there's a lot of Republicans nationally who have been watching this CD8 race, and they've been in town in some cases too, and they've been spending money in sneaky amounts, but it's starting to get close to $1 million. So Republicans have an advantage, but they're a little nervous.
Oh, Ken.
Tom Betlak, who's the Medicaid director, hinted that he expects a decision soon, possibly an approval on the state's Medicaid waiver requirement that would require able-bodied adults in Arizona to have a job or be looking for a job or be in a job training program to continue enrollment in Medicaid.
We'll watch your coverage on that. And I will share some of the gossip that's been rolling through my iPhone. There has been a lot of eye rolling, I think, that's been going on about the social media plan over the governor's hashtag 20 by 2020 plan. It seems over the weekend he got a lot of his chamber types and education allies and others to weigh in on his plan and try to really maybe overshadow some of the legitimate actual news coverage that's occurring. That's it for the Gaggle. We'll see you next week.